Well, happy Memorial Day, fellow Texans. Welcome to the James Show. It's News Talk 820 93.3 FM WBAP. I am your host, James Parker. Oh, we're about to have a good one today. We are going to rock it today. And let me remind you, if you've ever wanted to call into a radio show, we are live. It's Memorial Day. This is a great day to do it on holidays like today or 4th of July or Christmas Eve or New Year's Eve. The call volume drops by about half. So if you've ever wanted to get in and not have to wait for like 3 segments, this is the day to call in. But a couple things before we jump into our first topic here. I love this new law, putting the 10 Commandments in Texas school classrooms. And some people are thinking, well, James, aren't you a libertarian? Shouldn't you not like this? I'll explain myself. But listen, throughout this show today, I want you to tell me your Memorial Day story. And I don't mean like what you barbecued over the weekend. I mean, I want you to tell me about the person in your life, your father, your uncle, your husband, your son. I want to know the names of some of these people that made the ultimate sacrifice for all of us, because, you know, we all say, well, it's easy for to get what this day's really for. Well, one way to actually make it real, to bring it back to earth, is if we know the names, the age when they gave this sacrifice, and where they were on planet Earth. So you can send me an email, james@wbap.com. I had mentioned this on Friday. I already got a couple of good ones. I'll sprinkle these in throughout the show. And then the whole last segment of the show is I'm going to read some of the feedback that you guys send between now and then. But if you have a Memorial Day service, if you want to honor your fallen soldier, send me an email, or a Facebook message works too. Facebook Instant Messenger is how most people do it. It could be on Twitter too. You could send me a direct message like that. However you send me the message, I want to know their name, their age, and where they gave the ultimate sacrifice for us. What year it was. I want to share some of those stories because, you know, it's easy to not get too worked up about just the ethereal concept of the fallen soldier, but it kind of hits you in the heart when someone calls in and they're like, I want you to remember my brother. I want you to remember my husband. I want you to remember my dad. This was his name. This is where he's from. This is where he was when he fell on behalf of you. So share those stories with me, and I'll be sharing them with the thousands of people listening today. And so they won't be forgotten today. Also, the next James Show listener hangout is tomorrow. It's going to be at Manny G's in Keller, about 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. or wherever. Here's the good news. It's free. So even if you're cheap, you should go. But Keller, look, North Fort Worth, you people in the Denton area, you people who call me from like Justin and Hazel and stuff, this is probably as good as it's going to get for a while. It's pretty close. I know I have a lot of listeners in that area. So tell a friend, bring a friend, come and meet me, other awesome WBAP listeners like yourself. That's tomorrow, Manny G's in Keller. It's on Keller Parkway, just a little bit east of 35. It's like Keller Parkway and what's that other highway there, 77 or 377? Should ask the traffic people, or I should look it up. But yeah, Manny G's. Your phone knows where it's at. Just ask them. But all right, my top story, this law to make 10 Commandments be forced into all public school classrooms. It's now looks like it's going to go to the governor's desk. So not quite law yet. But if Governor Abbott signs it, it will force all public school classrooms to have a copy of the 10 Commandments on the wall. Love it. Love it. Now, I do consider myself, at least civilly speaking, a libertarian. And if this were happening in a vacuum or under my preferred system of governance or schooling, I would most certainly oppose this law if we had the schooling industry the way I see fit. But since I don't get to choose my perfect scenario, and I have to live in this world where we have socialized schools, where we have government indoctrination of your children, where we have a prepaid government monopoly on schooling, and they're already using it as basically re-education camps, then fine, let's play the game then. If you can indoctrinate people into your belief system, then we'll play that game too. And if you don't like it, well, then how about we fix schools? Because we don't. We have socialized schools now. If all schooling was the way I preferred, we would just get rid of the Department of Education, both in D.C. and Austin. We would return all schools to the private sector. And under that scenario, of course, this bill would be an infringement on the rights of these private sector schools to instruct students as they see fit. But we don't have that. We already have socialized schools. And socialized schools is what I call public schools. I just want to be a little more honest about what it is, because I think more people would agree with me if we used the correct nomenclature. But they're already being used as political indoctrination camps. If they weren't already doing that, I would say this bill is government unfairly using its socialized monopoly to indoctrinate students and is therefore wrong. But we don't have private schools, we have socialized schools. And on top of that, they're already injecting heavy amounts of political indoctrination. So I support this bill. Because, they talk about this is, you got to keep religion out of schools. Oh, we got to keep religion out of schools. What is religion? Let's talk about that. It's just a belief system. It's a reverence for power or maybe even a supernatural power. But it's also a particular variety of beliefs, especially when organized into a system of doctrine and practice. So when you look at the textbook definition of what is a religion, a lot of what's being taught in schools could be religion, a belief system. Most wokeism meets the definition of religion. So yeah, we're already there, y'all. You're just not playing the game yet. Well, and I don't mean you specifically. I mean the people who are otherwise, agreeing with you politically, culturally speaking, religiously speaking, people that like the Ten Commandments, but they're like, oh no, separation, church and state. No, we're already past that because we already have critical race theory being taught in schools. That's also a belief system. We have BLM flags, rainbow flags, secret sex talks with elementary school kids behind their parents' backs. We have obscene materials in the elementary school libraries teaching stuff that you don't want your kids to know. The indoctrination game is already in full swing. You're just not playing it. Let's go. Let's play. And if they don't like this, then maybe we'll get the reforms we want. I mean, isn't this a great argument for school choice? But if you don't like the Ten Commandments being forced down the throats of kids, but at the same time you want to defend teaching kids about BJs in third grade, go ahead. Make that argument. Make it really loud. Make it in a public space. You think you're going to win converts over to your side, or you think you're going to push them over to my side? You really think you're on the right side of this argument? Because I'm tired of culturally right and some of my fellow Christians, not all of you, right-wingers and Christians. I'm just saying the ones who are always like on the defense about these issues. Because my friends don't talk like this. I see people on TV talk like this. I see politicians talk like this. And I see a lot of commenters on social media talk like this. Now, I see my Democrat friends definitely talk like this. But I don't understand why right-wingers and Christians are so timid when it comes to these cultural issues. Why not pass a law forcing the Bible in all these public school libraries? If they can have, these books that are teaching just god-awful, obscene things to kids about sex in second grade, you don't want to make a push for the Bible? Why not pass a law forcing schools to teach biblical principles? Why not start arresting librarians and school administrators for exposing young children to obscene materials? Go on the offense with this. Stop playing defense. If they can have their little after-school Satan club, then fight back. All right, fine. 10 Commandments. How about that? And coming up next, State Rep Brian Harrison, who was there on the scene when the voting was happening yesterday. Oh, we got Ken Paxton? Oh, even better. He upgraded my guest. Well done, Garrett. It's Memorial Day special. He's working today? All right. Well, State Attorney General Ken Paxton is going to be on. And I'm going to ask him about the Ten Commandments bill, whether or not, it'll survive a court challenge. But also, I have my own solution to some of these issues. It's called the Walmart parking lot law. This is from the James Show exclusively. And the summary is, if I would get arrested for showing a kid the same obscene material in a Walmart parking lot, whomever puts it in school library should also be charged with the same crime. Can we make that a law? Well, we'll find out from Ken Paxton next. That's great. Do you support having the 10 Commandments in classrooms? 800-288-9227. I'll talk to Ken Paxton and then you. 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker on News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP. Hey there. Happy Memorial Day. Welcome to the James Show. I'm James Parker on News Talk 820 93.3 FM WBAP. So a new law would put the Ten Commandments in public schools, and all the right people are freaking out about it. I like it just based on the criticism of it. Ken Paxton, Texas Attorney General, coming back on the James Show to flesh this out a little bit more, because I think a lot of people like the law. We understand that some people might have a little separation of church and state whining to do about it, but we really want to know, will this survive a court challenge?
So, we survived a similar court challenge when Texas had the Ten Commandments put on the grounds of the Capitol. So that was a case that was decided several years ago, decades ago, and it survived constitutional challenges from all kinds of liberal groups. So I would think this one would survive constitutional challenge as well. You never know with the Supreme Court. You have the liberals on there who are much more stringent about any type of religious issues being done in the schools, and then you have the more conservatives who are more open to it.
Well, didn't you do that challenge to the Ten Commandments on the state courthouse?
No, that was
before you. Okay,
I think I was in the legislature when that occurred, but I was not Attorney General. Although it seems like I've been Attorney General that long, but I haven't.
How long have you been Attorney General? It's been a while. It feels like 4 years.
I'm in my 11th year, and it's definitely gone fast.
Good Lord. Okay, so Ken Paxton, you're the Attorney General. What would you say to one of these commenters over here on Twitter that says there's a separation of church and state? This is unconstitutional, Ken.
Well, I do know that what that means. I mean, I studied constitutional law at the University of Virginia, which was founded by Thomas Jefferson, who knew a little bit about the Constitution, I think. And that idea of separation of church and state was something he wrote to the Danbury Baptists in Virginia. And what he meant by that was that not that there could be no religion or any association or any connection to religious thought in our country or in our schools or anywhere else in the public sector. What he meant by that was that the state could not, like the state of Virginia, could not constitutionally set up the Anglican Church as the state religion. So that particular phrase has been greatly exaggerated and extrapolated by liberals who make it out to be something very different than what Thomas Jefferson wrote.
Is there any worry that Governor Abbott might not sign this bill?
I'd be surprised. I wouldn't. I mean, he's the one that was Attorney General. He went and fought. He's the one that actually argued the Ten Commandment case when that came up. So I would be shocked if suddenly his views had changed on that. But he'd have to speak for himself on that. But I'd be quite surprised.
Well, they've tried this in other states, and Louisiana's tied up in courts. I think, didn't Arkansas pass a similar bill? How's this working in other states?
So the only one I know about is Louisiana, and we're actually Texas is leading an amicus brief on that, which means we are in support of their law, and we are filing briefs with.
I'm sorry, Ken. I don't know what an amicus brief is.
It's just a brief. It's arguments by our state, and we try to include other states that feel the same way in front of a court. We try to give persuasive weight because we're a big state, and we have other states joining us, to say, look, this isn't just Louisiana that thinks this is constitutional. There are lots of states. Court, you need to listen to us too, because we have an opinion on this, and we think you should say this is constitutional.
Can we make sure to include the idea that if you don't like how the Texas schools are being run, that would sure be a good argument for school choice?
I like that. Probably doesn't get made to the court, but certainly as people are talking about this, I agree with that. I mean, if we had school choice, we wouldn't really have much of an issue with this. This would be parents would send their kids where they wanted to, and if you had schools that were more open to religious conversations, then that would be a decision by the parents, not necessarily by the schools or anybody else or the government saying, no, you can't teach that, which to me, a lot of people don't realize when we have this establishment clause, which in the Constitution, the First Amendment talks about you can't establish a religion, but there's also a free exercise clause that guarantees the free expression of religious thought in this country. So those sometimes are in tension, but we have definitely weighted more towards the establishment side of this and hindered the free exercise of religion in our country.
Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton with us. What's the biggest case you got going on right now? What's getting most of your attention today?
Well, we've got about 40 or 50 lawsuits trying to work out with the federal government that we sued Biden over. Those are pretty big in our repertoire. But also, we just settled a Google case for 1.4 billion. We have another big Google case coming up, probably August. It goes to trial if it stays as it is. So that's a pretty big case because we're arguing that Google has a monopoly on advertising on the internet, that they control 97% of the advertising, and that because of that, they've done some deceptive and anti-competitive things that they should be held liable for, and that monopoly should be broken up so that there's more competition and consumers have a fairer deal on things that are purchased on the internet.
Well, if this law does get signed by the governor, putting the 10 Commandments in public school classrooms, I think you're going to have some legal paperwork to follow right behind it. So good luck with all that.
Hey, thanks a lot. Have a great Memorial Day.
Thank you very much. Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton takes some time to talk to you on Memorial Day. It's a holiday. Nice stuff. Now, let me ask you, I have some more to say about this, but I would love to hear your thoughts. Are you okay with putting the 10 Commandments in all the public schools and all the classrooms and all the public schools? Do you support that? Should we have the 10 Commandments in classrooms? Is it legal? Is it a violation of the Constitution? 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. I have a couple more points to put on this and also some feedback already that I'll share with you next on The James Show. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM, WBAP. Hi there. Welcome to the James Show. I'm your host, James Parker, on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM WBAP. Happy Memorial Day. We have a new Texas law that's going to the governor's desk that would put the 10 Commandments in public schools. And generally speaking, I'm against the government getting into the micromanaging of what's going to be on the walls of classrooms. But I like this one because it's pushing back in a culture war that we just haven't been fighting. And there's one reason we've been losing the culture war is, number one, we don't even recognize it's going on. We pretend like it's not happening, which means we're not fighting it. So I like it. Make them fight. Make them argue against it. Because on their side of the aisle, what books do they not want in public libraries? Well, the Bible, for one. What books do we not want in public libraries? Sexual obscenities that are available to elementary school, middle school kids. Yeah, so let's have that argument. Let's have that debate. Because people who are on the fence, third-party independent viewers, are going to easily see who the good guy is and the bad guy is. Meanwhile, you've had teachers plaster all kinds of political propaganda and their belief system and their religion on the walls of public schools and made you fight against that. Let's show them what it feels like. 800-288-9227. This is Jerry in Dallas. You're on WBAP. What do you think about the 10 Commandments in Texas schools?
Well, it's Gary, not Jerry.
Okay.
I'm all for it because I'm old enough to remember when it was in the public school, when prayer was in the public school. And I think there's nothing in the Constitution that does not allow it.
Yeah, so I love the misinterpretation, and it has to be just an aggressive misinterpretation of the Fourth Amendment guaranteeing a freedom of religion. That doesn't mean we have to erase all semblances of religion from the public sphere. Like, how did you make that leap? So, Jerry, and here's a dirty little secret. Are you in Dallas? Or are you from Dallas? Or are you from like a small town?
No, I'm from Dallas.
Okay, so my kids go to school out in a really small town, which is just 2 school districts over from the really small town where I grew up. We still pray. We still pray in school. We pray at like the football games. The pastor at First Baptist Church of Bug Tussle is the guy on the PA, and he comes out and he does a prayer. And it would probably horrify the Rachel Maddows and Jake Tappers of the world, or the delicate sensibilities of the dense blue ears around here. But we still do it. No one can stop us. They don't even know. They don't know what goes on out there. They're not sending someone to monitor us. They don't have like the morality police that's going and checking us out. Just so it might make you feel better, Jerry, we still do that out in the middle of nowhere. We still have my niece graduated on Friday in the official school stadium. We had a prayer on the loudspeaker before and at the end of the event. And no one has a cow, no one freaks out, and we don't have school shootings, and you can leave your car unlocked in the parking lot. So there's still a lot of places where, culturally speaking, what you experienced as a child is dominant. It would just be nice if the other people in the bubble got to see that too, because it's pretty nice, isn't it, Gary?
Yes, it is.
All right, well, thank you for your call. Appreciate it, sir. This is Joe in Fort Worth. You're on WBAP. What do you think? Joe? Is this another Garrett typo too, or is he just gone? All right, fine. Steve Keller, you're on WBAP. What do you think?
Very much yes. If we go back to our founding fathers, over half of the signers of the Declaration were ministers. If you did a little bit of research, David Barton in Burleson and Washington, D.C. has come out with the Founder's Bible. It was common during the Revolutionary time for people from age 12 to old adult to read the Bible cover to cover on a yearly basis. They were so well read that their daily speech incorporated biblical language. It was common to write a letter from friend to friend or husband to wife or whoever in biblical languages, adding portions of a verse to their conversation. And it's amazing how we've allowed the society to become so bastardized, if you want to call it that, adulterated.
Adulterated is a good word for it. Now, listen, let me point out something that kind of bolsters the point I was making in the first segment. If we, when the time period you were talking about is before we had public schools. When we had all private schools, schools were a lot better. The students did a lot better. They learned a lot more. It was a much more rigorous curriculum. And don't forget that even in Texas history, when we had the come and take it flag, what was that, 1835, 1836? The little backwater townspeople of Gonzales were quoting King Leonidas from the Battle of Thermopylae in what, like something 100 BC? The movie 300.
One other point.
Go ahead.
The Ivy League colleges, all of them, were originally set up as seminaries to prepare ministers to go out into the rest of the world and proclaim the gospel to the rest of the world.
Now, Steve, you're absolutely. I know, but Steve, you're absolutely right.
We're having missionaries from outside the U.S. come and witness to the heathens here in the U.S.
So check this out, Steve. Let's keep that under wraps, because if they find out Harvard was a preacher, they're going to want to change the name of that school. All right, let's try Joe in Fort Worth again. Is your phone fixed?
Yes, sir.
All right, you're on WBAP. What do you think? Yep.
I want to see it come back. I was disappointed when it was first taken out of all public spaces. I don't think a lot of kids are even seeing anything of that nature. And if it's in the school where it's there, they can look at it. I think they'd have more questions. I think more things would come to mind where they, that there is some guidance that we're supposed to have. When I was a kid, we had the big family Bible on the coffee table. Almost every kid I knew had one in their house. It was something we could leaf through and have some kind of an idea of what's going on. Had pages where my mom had put in family lineage and that sort of thing, which has helped me with genealogy today. And so I am all for having that where kids can see that and have some understanding that there is right and wrong in this world.
Right. Wouldn't it be nice if they were just exposed to it? Even if you're not a Christian,
Yes.
even if you're a godless, soulless atheist, it'd be nice for the kids to read. It's still good advice to honor the wishes of your father and mother, to not murder people, to not commit adultery, to not steal, to not lie, to not covet. This is good advice no matter what religion you are, even if you're anti-religious, even if you hate baby Jesus. This is still a good way to arrange your. This is still good advice. Good advice is good advice no matter who says it. Even if Hitler himself said, hey, you should not steal, it's still good advice. Thank you very much, Joe in Fort Worth. Good stuff. All right, 800-288-9227 if you have any more comments on the 10 Commandments in school classrooms. Coming up next on The James Show, one big part of the big, beautiful bill I like is ditching the tax on gun silencers. Did you hear about that? Hear about this possible win for gun rights with Stephen Williford from the Gun Owners of America next on The James Show. News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP. Hey there, welcome to the James Show. Happy Memorial Day on News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP. I'm your host, James Parker. Our top story of the day is this bill that's it's got social media just in an uproar over Texas putting the Ten Commandments in public school classrooms. Something similar is tried in Louisiana. It's tied up in courts right now. But generally speaking, do you think this is a good idea? 800-288-9227. The other piece of legislation that I'm kind of excited about is a small piece of the big, beautiful bill. Let's take out all the financial stuff and the taxes and the credits and the SNAP and the Medicaid. Let's just look at this one part that affects guns. And it would repeal the tax and registration on firearm suppressors. But in my neck of the woods, we call them gun silencers. So I think that's the same thing. Stephen Williford, Gun Owners of America, is my next guest. First, let me make sure I have the terminology correct. That's what they're talking about. Firearm suppressors or gun silencers, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's suppressors. Call them suppressors. They don't silence anything. They suppress. That's like a muffler for your gun. Exactly.
Yeah, I like the idea that some people think silencers means silence. Oh, he dropped off. What the heck happened? Okay, thank you, Garrett. But yeah, he's right. The terminology's kind of important here because when people hear silencers and they see it on TV or they see it on the movies, it goes from a big loud to just a thoo. And that's not how it works. If you've ever, seen a silencer or I guess heard it in real life, it takes this down to like a this. Okay? So what really happens here is all you're doing with silencers is you're not enabling, because the concern is, well, you're going to enable criminals to get away with gun crimes because, people won't be able to hear it or they won't be able to do it clandestinely or it won't be as easy to find them or cops won't know where the shots are coming from or whatever. Oh, stop it. Silencers in real life are primarily used for people who are gun enthusiasts so they don't go deaf by the age of 40. But, okay, good. Stephen Williford's back. So, Stephen Williford, what's the argument when they got these registration and big tax on firearm suppressors passed? What's their rationale for even having it in the first place?
Well, in the very first place, it was so unconstitutional. Most people don't understand it passed in 1934 as the NFA, National Firearms Act. Do you know what they got Al Capone for?
Yeah, tax evasion.
You know what tax he was evading?
Was it the suppressors?
It was the short barrel rifle suppressors and full automatics.
Now that's news to me. Well done, sir. That's kind of important. Anyway, go ahead.
They charged him for every machine gun he had, every short barrel rifle, and every suppressor. That was the only way they caught Al Capone, which I'm not trying to defend Al Capone. He was a piece of garbage. But the fact is, they passed an unconstitutional law for the whole nation just so they could get one man.
So how has it survived this long, Stephen?
Personally, I don't know. It is unconstitutional. I think they passed it in a time where gangsters and stuff, but they're not as big a problem as what we have nowadays. And it's not about gangsters shooting up the streets. You don't see gangsters using suppressors. And by their own line of thinking, think about this for just a moment. The Christmas parade murder that ran over people, and they ran over people in the band, he ran through that crowd, that parade. And by their line of thinking that we should just remove all the mufflers off of all the cars. That way the band could have heard him coming that day and got out of the way.
See,
it's the same thing.
I find this super frustrating that a law this illogical, this obviously unconstitutional, and on top of that, just completely ineffective can persist for so long.
Well, we are starting to take our country back. The left has lost their mind, and we are starting to take our country back. And it matters. It's time to get back to the Constitution, because criminals don't care what laws you pass. They're going to do whatever they're going to do because they're criminals. They ignore the laws. And even OSHA recognizes that it is hearing protection. OSHA recognizes suppressors are hearing protection. And
every other country that allows guns other than the United States actually think you're uncivilized if you fire your firearms without a suppressor. So why in this country are we stuck with suppressors? And for that matter, short-barreled rifle ban.
What's the rationale for a short-barreled rifle ban anyway?
I guess they think it's easier to conceal. And yet you can conceal a pistol and short-barreled rifles, and it doesn't make any difference. They did that all for Al Capone.
Gun laws are so dumb.
They are ignorant. They're ignorant.
At some point, Stephen, I know I'm getting in fantasy land here, but are we ever going to admit that this whole experiment that we have with registration and background checks and serial numbers and stuff, none of this worked? This was all an infringement on our rights, had no effect on gun crime or safety or anything, but just infringed on your freedom for nothing. Are we ever going to get all that repealed?
Well, we are working on it. The next thing we have to do, if we get the Short Act put into the big, beautiful bill, the Short Act will take the short-barreled rifles and shotguns off the NFA list. Then the suppressors will be off the NFA list, and all that will be left is machine guns. And then what we have to do is repeal the Hughes Act, which was given to us by Ronald Reagan. And the Hughes Act basically said no more transferable machine guns. So we need to get rid of the Hughes Act. And then after we get rid of the Hughes Act and we get a few more machine guns out there on the market, then we get to what the Supreme Court has recognized in use for legal purposes. So that's if we get in common use for legal purposes, and that's recognized as 200,000 of them. We already have 150,000 transferable machine guns out there.
Stephen,
if we can get another 50,000 out there, then it's in common use for lawful purposes, and we can do away with that ban also.
Stephen, I love everything I'm hearing. I'm just out of time. This is Stephen Williford from Gun Owners of America. Keep up the good work, sir. Get rid of all those laws and let me know how I can help. Coming up next, we'll return to the top story of the day, 10 Commandments in Texas classrooms. If you want to be after Mark in Dallas, 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. Now, I'm in favor of the 10 Commandments in classrooms, but I would like to hear from someone who's not. I'll be nice. I just want to hear your argument against it. 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP. Hey there, fellow Texans. Welcome back to the James Show. It's News Talk 820, 93.3 FM WBAP. Happy Memorial Day. We are going to honor some of our fallen soldiers in the final segment of the show. If you want to share with me your Memorial Day honoree, send me an email, james@wbap.com, or Facebook Messenger. However you want to get in touch with me. It's 2025. You can think of 10 ways right now. But I want to know their name, I want to know their age, and I want to know the year and location where they gave the ultimate sacrifice for all of us. And I like doing this because, it's one thing to honor the the ethereal concept of the fallen soldier, but when you know a name, when you know it's someone's brother, we would like to honor them personally and know their name because it just makes it more real. So send in your stories, your info, who you would like to honor, and we'll be going over that in the final segment of the show. It's kind of a Memorial Day special. Also, the next James Show listener hangout is going to be tomorrow at Manny G's in Keller. Ooh, Keller, is that close to you? Go to Manny G's. It's on Keller Parkway. I'll get, when I get out of here, I'll just head over there. So I'll probably get there around 7 or so and then hang out to, I guess, about 9 or whenever. But it's free. Tell a friend, bring a friend, come meet other awesome WBAP listeners like yourself, and judge me based on my appearance. Now, we have a new law that's headed to the governor's desk. It passed both chambers, and it would put the 10 Commandments in Texas classrooms in all public schools. And I must admit, if this law were happening in a vacuum or under my preferred system of schooling, that I would most certainly oppose it. But since we are forced to pay for government schools and have a prepaid government monopoly, a socialized school system where the government controls the curriculum, we're already playing ball. Let's fight the culture war. Let's do it. What do you think? 800-288-9227. This is Mark in Dallas. You're on WBAP. What do you think?
So as I understand it, the law requires it to be in every classroom and in like general public areas.
Yes.
And that's my issue with it. If it's required, I'm not in favor of it.
Why does that?
Well, because let's say I'm a hardcore atheist and I believe there is no God. Why can't I have that in my classroom? There is no God. Let's discuss. What if I'm a Satanist and I want to have a plaque that's, appropriate in that type of environment, or I want to have the Buddha on my desk. Freedom of religion allows everyone to express their religion in their way.
Right, but you've already given
proper decorum.
You've already given that up when you handed over the curriculum for schools to government. If government's going to choose what the curriculum's going to be, what's going to be on the wall, then we would like our cultural issues to be represented as well. If you can have a pride flag or a BLM flag on the wall, you should be able to have the 10 Commandments on the wall without anyone saying, well, this is a violation of my belief system. Well, that's too bad because our belief system gets violated every single day in public schools, and I see this as fighting back. Now, is this my ideal situation? No, I would like to remove all government indoctrination from schools, but since we're already past that, and this is the game we're playing under the rules that we have to play against, I like the idea of throwing in some of our belief system as well, because I think, generally speaking, it would be good for the kids, whether or not they're believers, even if they're Buddhist, honoring your mother and father, not lying, stealing, committing adultery, all whatever's in the 10 Commandments. That's good advice no matter what religion you are, even if you're secular.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with the 10 Commandments. They all have to do with not being negative towards another person and then, putting God first in everything in your life.
Well, let me put it this way then. My sister was a math teacher in Buck Tussle. She just teaches fourth grade now, like everything. But for a while there, she's taught specifically math. Now, she didn't like Common Core, but the government controls her. The government owns the building, the land, her paycheck, the administrator sets the curriculum, buys the textbook. So she didn't get to choose her preferred belief system on how to instruct the class. It's already forced down to her through a top-down system. Now, I disagree with the top-down system. So if this makes people uncomfortable, then maybe we should get government out of the schooling business. And I think that's the ultimate goal here. My ultimate goal isn't to force all classrooms to have the 10 Commandments in it, just the public ones. And if you get rid of public schools, then I don't have any say-so, or the government doesn't have any say-so over whether or not you put the 10 Commandments on your wall.
Yeah, the ticket voucher, getting a school voucher is by far the best way to combat these types of issues. That way, parents can choose which classes they want to.
Well, hang on.
Really, making the classrooms more, private sector based. That way, there's more competition.
Well, if that's the
way
case,
you
then why
can
not get
have-
rid of public schools altogether? Because that's what I believe in. The the voucher system is better than what we have now, but I think that only proves that the socialized schooling fails just like socialism fails in every other industry.
Oh, yeah, no, the school system's an absolute chaotic mess. I hated it when I was going through it. It didn't benefit me at all. I was homeschooled up until the 8th grade. And then my mom wanted us all to go to high school because, she was on the college ride argument and wanted us to have the social life. And for me, I'm a worker. I work with my hands every day. I don't like thinking, when it comes to advanced math and all that stuff. I mean, I'm an HVAC technician, so I have to use my brain. But I'm a doer. I like to go out and do stuff. So for so long, I was wasting so much time in school, and I know there are tons of other individuals like that.
Well, damn it,
And
Mark. I got excited when you said you disagree, but now you're so nice and I like you. That's no fun. Thank you, Mark.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
All right. I like the guys that get all mad at me and yell and stuff. Some great comments are had under any thread, basically, that you find on this if you're on social media. I love it. I love it because, like Deanna said here on Twitter, this is white Christian nationalism at its finest, and it's BS, except she spelled out the whole word. How is this white? And how is this nationalist? It doesn't say anything about your country. It's not a jingoistic list of commands here. And it seems to be sort of race neutral or just doesn't even mention race at all. Thanks, Deanna. Great criticism here. Because this is all what I want. I want to spur this debate. I want to hear all these people go on the record about how you can't be indoctrinating our kids. Oh, well, if you're going to have your indoctrination shoved down our kids' throats, then can't we have our religion just thrown in the mix on what you're shoving down kids' throats? And then there's also a lot of like actual intelligent discussions that I think are waking people up because people are saying, doesn't that violate the Constitution's separation of church and state? And then people under that will immediately say, where in the Constitution does it say that? And so the guy will probably go and Google it and then be like, oh, God, I didn't know that. It doesn't really say that. Well, crap. And then he's not going to come back and comment, but the gears are turning in some people's head to make them think in a way that they haven't before. And this is ultimately going to work out in our favor. This becomes law. Coming up next on the James Show, Russia made a big attack on Ukraine over the weekend. Trump is pretty livid about it. David Hamilton, our foreign affairs consultant, will be on the James Show next to explain just how bad was it. 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. Because I got to tell you, I don't think I'm very happy about it either. It's News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM, WBAP. Hey, James Parker here for Blue Ribbon Roofing. I don't just tell you to get the free roof inspection. I got the free roof inspection. And actually, John Hopkins, the owner and the founder of Blue Ribbon Roofing, came out to my house on Friday, and I was concerned. Was he going to find something wrong? Because the only thing I knew was wrong was when I bought this house 3 years ago and I had the home inspector. He's one of the marks he had on his list of things that were issues was on one of my gables, kind of close to the roof on the north side of my house. The paint was kind of wavy, like the texture was a little different. He's like, that board's starting to rot. It'll probably be a problem in a couple years or so. Well, now it's been a couple years, and John Hopkins came out and he actually said, your roof looks great. It looks fairly new. In fact, he could just tell by looking, this is the shingles, this is the manufacturer, this is the make of the shingles, and this is the color, which had like 3 adjectives in it I never even heard of. So the guy knows what he's doing. He got up, he got down. The whole process, I say it takes about an hour. For me, it took about 40 minutes total. And look, I don't have a very big palace. You know, I like to say I got the Parker Mansion. But he says usually, even if you have a big house, it's really complicated and a lot going on, maybe an hour tops, because he was really only up there for about 10 minutes. And then he came down and had to explain everything that he found. And then we went over this packet of materials. When you get the free roof inspection, there's a folder he gives you that has like a rundown of all your shingles and options. And here's the manufacturers, and here's what we do, and here's how we pay for it, and here's some insurance help. So I did it. You can too. It was that easy. And you know how much it cost me so far? $0. It really is free. There's not like a copay or some sort of tax on there, or shipping and handling. So go to Blue Ribbon Roofing if you have any doubt about your roof. I know we all got a bunch of big storms over the weekend. I was woken up about 3 a.m. because I think my neighbor got struck by lightning. But if you have any doubts about your roof, it doesn't cost anything but about 40 minutes of your time to have Blue Ribbon Roofing come out and take a look at it. Go to blueribbondfw.com. If you do have a problem and you need a whole new roof, mention the James Show. You get a free ridge vent ventilation upgrade, and they will help you with the pain in the neck insurance claims process. So go to blueribbondfw.com. Hey there, happy Memorial Day. Welcome back to the James Show. I am your host, James Parker, News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP. Well, on one hand, it sounds like the Ukraine and Russian war may be coming to a close. They just had another prisoner swap where it was 1,000 for 1,000 prisoner exchange. And then right after that, we saw what I think is the biggest air attack in the history of this war so far. So here to parse through all the noise, make a little sense of it, David Hamilton from America's Future Series back on the James Show, our foreign policy analyst here. And is this really, this is it? This is the biggest air assault in the wars so far?
It is, and the most deadly. And in the past few hours, over a dozen people have been killed in the past 2 hours alone. So this is continuing, and it is the reason, you and I have talked about many, many times, that we have to find a negotiated settlement and withdrawal of the Russians. And I really appreciate your keeping this top of mind for the public. You do a really good job of making sure that we don't forget that there are thousands of people dying every month on both sides, and that we have to be serious about this.
Well, I am interested in how war is evolving through this conflict here, because when you hear this is the largest air attack in the war, you're like, well, how many planes were flying over? Like, was there a big formation of Blue Angel looking fighter jets? No. Was it 9 missiles and 355 attack drones?
Yeah, so the nature of war has changed. People liken this war to the Spanish Civil War, where the Axis powers and the Allied powers used Spain as its testing ground for different kinds of weapons. That's what's happening here. You know, we've learned that multi-million-dollar tanks can be knocked out with $1,000 or even sometimes even less expensive drone. And that is fundamentally changing how warfare is going to be prosecuted in the future, including naval battles. The idea of having great big ships that can be knocked out by unmanned underwater drones is changing the way we look at the marine industrial base and our approach towards naval conflict.
Well, David Hamilton, Ukraine's no slobs. They actually shot down all 9 of the missiles and 288 of the drones, but that leaves what, like 162 something drones that actually hit their targets?
Yep. And the Russians are getting these, they're not making them all themselves. They're being supplied by the Chinese. They've gotten some from the Iranians. Some are more sophisticated than others, and they're getting better and better at it. And the Germans have been saying recently, you may have seen that they are willing to provide or to take off the restrictions of how far the range of the ballistic weapons that the Ukrainians have, which, of course, the Russians feel is an escalation. If you can hit Moscow, that, of course, threatens them. And this is what you and I have been talking about. We have to worry about escalation, and that is the stick. We really need to continue to ratchet up the pressure on Russia. But as you and I have discussed before, there has to be some sort of carrot. You cannot appeal to Putin's kinder side or his honor or humanity. It's all about what's in it to them. And from their perspective, they do not have to give up the parts that they've taken, roughly 18% of Ukraine they've taken since the beginning of this war, plus the previous territory they took in 2014. They're going to want to keep that. So what's in it for them? And the answer that you and I have talked about many times is some sort of normalization of trade, allowing them to sell their oil and gas using Nord Stream 2 and other means to the Europeans. Doing trade with people tends to keep us from killing each other. And to normalizing relations and maybe even dissolving NATO, either allowing Russia to join NATO or us leaving it, et cetera, and ceasing the hostilities between us and becoming trade partners and normalizing relations is probably the single biggest carrot, including mineral deals that we could do with them, so that we view ourselves as not being completely at odds with them. They have a reason to do this, and we unite against our biggest common enemy, which is China.
So, David Hamilton, America's Future Series, what are they using to shoot down drones? Do you use another missile? Do you use another drone? Do you use a shotgun like Elmer Fudd? How does that work?
All of the above. And missiles, just the classic sort of anti-aircraft artillery you see. But hitting a drone is so much more difficult than hitting a big plane that makes a lot of noise that you can see that shows up on radar, right? So the countermeasures have become much more sophisticated, and some of those are drones themselves. And this is escalating warfare to the point where it also makes warfare cheaper and easier to do for terrorists. So you can imagine terrorists are looking at these sorts of weapons and saying, for a few $100s, I can create something that people can't see or find or knock out of the air. And that's making it even more challenging for us to try to defend ourselves and our homeland.
Right. Like it's scary them flying planes into buildings. They're probably never going to do that again. But how would you stop drones going into buildings? Well, the other thing that's a head scratcher about this, David Hamilton, is there was a 1,000 for 1,000 prisoner swap over the weekend. So, that kind of feels like they were getting close to a deal, and this kind of pushes away. Where do you think we are? Are we closer to a deal, or are we further away from a deal after this weekend?
This is a big setback. Absolutely can't deny that. I find it interesting, though, when we see things in the press. I saw something even in the Indian press saying that Trump is hot and cold on Putin. Well, if he does something like this, you're going to get cold on him. You've got to call him out. You've got to criticize him for this sort of thing. This is a huge step back. And we cannot ignore it when he does bad acts. But I am glad that, as you and I've said, that we are at least negotiating. We're seeing some changes, some thawing. I appreciate the 1,000 for 1,000 swap. That's a good first step. But I think what we haven't done in very, very clear terms and say we are going to completely escalate this war against you, Putin, or we can stop it. It has to be a light switch. We have to be able to go, we're going to ratchet it up to 11. We're going to have to go way up. But or your alternative is something really attractive. Nord Stream 2 back, doing trade together, normalized relations, allowing more Russians to come here, all of the tariffs that we've put on them, et cetera, right? They've lost 30% of their trade with the United States over the past 2 years. And we were a good trading partner for them. They've also lost trade with other countries. So that's the only thing that Russia cares about really is money and power. We have to come up with a combination of carrot and stick and escalate this at the same time giving the Russian bear an out.
David Hamilton, what can I promote for you today? I don't know if you changed your website or name or whatever. I know you had a merger. So what's your outfit these days?
Well, I work for the University of North Texas. I'm the executive director of the National Security Economic Strategy Center, and we are putting on events. Don't have to worry about any of those right now, but we put on events together, summits and things like that on national security economic strategy issues, and we'll be having a few of those we can talk about in the coming weeks.
All right. Well, thanks for the update, and thanks for clearing up the Russia-Ukraine situation. Appreciate it, sir.
Thank you.
All right, coming up next, I found out over the weekend 31% of Harvard students are foreigners. That's what Trump put on Truth Social. Is that true? Because if so, what the heck is that? That can't be right. That's not good. Your thoughts, 800-288-9227. It's News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Hey there. Welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. I am your host, James Parker, and happy Memorial Day. And I don't say that like a celebratory happy Memorial Day. It's something that's kind of a somber, serious occasion. I want to hear your story of a fallen soldier and someone in your life. Could be your dad, could be your husband, could be your son, could be your best friend growing up, could be your daughter's husband. But if you send me the email, james@wbap.com, just send me a little bit of info about him. His name or her name, the age when they passed, when they gave the ultimate sacrifice for us. And if you want, the year and the location, you know, like my dad's brother, my uncle, died in Korea in 1951. I would love to know their name and share some of the stories and get a little personal here with this and honor someone in your family, someone that's important to you. That's all I can do here is make sure they're not forgotten, at least while we're around. So send me an email. I'll spend the last segment on the show taking care of that. And the James Show Listener Hangout is tomorrow at Manny G's. That's the next time you can come out and hang out with myself and other WBAP listeners. It's Manny G's is in Keller, just east of 35 on Keller Parkway. Come on out about 7 to 9 p.m. sometime. It's free, and there's nothing going on. We're not going to sing karaoke or, you know, there's not going to be a Dunkin' booth, but we're just going to hang out and have a few beers and probably chat about some of the same stuff we talk about on the James Show. But the important part is that you meet other WBAP listeners like yourself, because you people end up making your own little social circle and being friends with each other. That's just cool as heck. Donald Trump had a soundbite here from Arlington, Virginia. I thought was appropriate for Memorial Day.
Even for a moment that freedom is a gift of the highest cost and peace is won at the most precious price. These extraordinary American heroes and their immense and ultimate sacrifices they offer only the faintest glimpse at the infinite grace we have received from all who laid down their lives for America. Over the past 250 years, we're going to have a big, big celebration, as you know, 250 years. In some ways, I'm glad I missed that second term where it was, because I wouldn't be your president for that most important of all. In addition, we have the World Cup and we have the Olympics. Can you imagine? I missed that 4 years, and now look what I have. I have everything. Amazing the way things work out. God did that. I believe that too. God did it. You know, I got the World Cup and I got the Olympics. The 250 years was not mine. I'd like to take credit. But I got the Olympics, I got the World Cup when I was president. And I said, boy, it's too bad I won't be president then. And look what happened. I turned out. And we're going to have a great time. We're going to have a great celebration. But most important of all is the 250th anniversary. That blows everything away, including the World Cup and including the Olympics, as far as I'm concerned. In any corner of this cemetery, at any resting place for our war dead, anywhere on earth, you'll find untold stories of equal heroism and heartbreak, unmatched patriotism and devotion.
Yeah, anyway, let me cut that off here, because my next story, let's go and jump into this. Donald Trump posted over the weekend that 31% of Harvard students are foreigners. I don't mean foreigners as in they're immigrants who are moving here because we're taking the best and brightest and they're going to be American citizens. A bunch, maybe most of these people are going to take their degrees and go back to their country of origin. And while I'm not against the idea of having foreign students in colleges, we had foreigners that were with me at my college out in Bug Tussle at ETBU. It was a cool addition to the experience. I get it. But 31%, like a third of our most prestigious and highest esteemed college is foreigners. That seems a bit much. Does that sound right to you? I can't quite put my finger on it, but that really miffs me. And let me try and flesh this out here. Every one of those seats that goes to a foreigner is a seat that doesn't go to an American student. Every one of those seats where they come in and they get a subsidized education at the expense of the American taxpayer. I mean, they're probably charged tuition, or maybe they get a scholarship. I don't know. Some of them, I'm sure, pay tuition. They take that knowledge and it leaves us. That investment, instead of staying, like if it was an American citizen, that more productive person would now go to work in our economy, but goes to work in other people's economy. And a lot of them are not friends of ours. A lot of these economies, including Chinese citizens, they are taking that education and going and actively working for adversarial organizations against us. That does not sound like a good idea. But also, this kind of overlaps with what we were talking about in the first half of the show, where the government, the Texas state government, wanting to put the Ten Commandments in classrooms and whatnot. The big problem with this is that it's taxpayer subsidized. Do you know how much money we send to Harvard just as the taxpayers? You know, I didn't find this out until Trump threatened to withhold it. He's like, I'm going to withhold the $4 billion of federal funding, or was it $2 billion of federal funding? It's like, excuse me. Between that and the money that they get from their, what was it, $35 billion endowment or whatever it was, just a ton of money. Before they even charge anyone tuition, they already have $1 million per student going into their bank account. That can't be right. Why? Okay, why are they charging them tuition? This is insane. So we have all of this money, all these resources that are being taken from you, being taken from people in America that didn't even go to college. And they're giving it to what? These foreigners so they can go get the best education in the world and then go use it against us? Or even if they don't use us against us, they're going to go and use it for in other countries that we compete against, even allies. That cannot be the best and most judicious use of our education system. But where does the problem come from? The problem that there's a government element to it anyway. I would have no complaints if Harvard wasn't getting any tax money, if they were just using their endowment and tuition and voluntary private donations to cover their cost, and they wanted to make it, they could have 100% foreigners. It'd be Harvard, the foreigner school. Okay, well, cool. If that's what does it for you, that's an interesting way to make money. It's not very helpful to society at large, but hey, got to make a living, right? There's a market for foreigners who want to come here and get an education, and you're trying to make a profit off of it. Can't hate you for that, but I can hate you for it if you're taking my money to do it. I can have a say-so if, I don't know, I just had this conversation with, I'm running out of time, with my oldest kid about taxes over the weekend. And he was like, how much do you pay in taxes? I was like, well, that's a loaded question. He said, and I swear to God, he said, well, how much is Social Security? And 13%, 6.5% comes out of my side of the check. The employer pays another 6.5% on my behalf. But when you're self-employed, you pay the whole 13%. On top of that, you're either in a 12% or 20% tax bracket. So that already puts you up to in the 33% range. Then you have state and local taxes. Then you have property taxes. Then you have taxes on everything that you buy, sales tax. And you have taxes on your cell phone bill and taxes when you buy gas and all this other. I don't know if you realize maybe 30 to 40% of your income, and you're not even rich, goes to taxes. And it's doing what? Not letting your kid go to the elite private schools. Oh, no. You're paying for foreigners. You're paying for the children of Chinese communists. You're subsidizing their education at Harvard in exchange, in lieu of fellow Americans getting that huge leg up. Because Harvard is the biggest leg up that we have in America. Out of the Harvard alumni, 188 living billionaires, 8 U.S. presidents, 24 heads of state. They get all kinds of Nobel Prizes and members of Congress and Rhodes Scholars. And this is the biggest leg up possible. And 1/3 of it is going to foreigners. You're taking money from us and making the rest of the world a better place. That rubs me the wrong way. I'll continue with this, but are you cool with 31% of Harvard students being foreigners, or am I just being xenophobic? 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. 9227. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP. Hey there, welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP. Happy Memorial Day. Stick around, we'll be doing our Memorial Day remembrance in the last segment of the show. But I was a little shocked to find 31% of Harvard is foreign students. That sounds way high. That means almost a third of Harvard students are foreigners. Now, Trump froze $9 billion in federal funding earlier this year. And the backdrop on that is in all the anti-Semitic protests that were going on. And you saw like a whole bunch of other campuses where these pro-Palestinian terrorists were blocking people and intimidating people and shouting free, free Palestine, just like the guy that shot the 2 Jews outside of the museum in D.C. last week. And he was trying to find some discipline records on these guys so he can say, all right, these are the foreigners that participated in these horrific pro-terrorist intimidations, these protests. Let's get them out of here. Let's kick them out. Well, Harvard is protecting them. Number one, it's not disciplining them. So even if Trump does get the disciplinary record, he's not going to show up because they refuse to punish them and put them on a piece of paper because they're protecting them. They don't want them to get kicked out. And on top of that, according to the scuttlebutt that keeps being passed around, and I've seen links to different articles about this, 20% of those foreign students are Chinese nationals. So this is where it hit me upside the head this weekend. This is Trump at an airfield.
Look, part of the problem with Harvard is that there are about 31%, almost 31% of foreigners coming to Harvard. We give them billions of dollars, which is ridiculous. We do grants, which we're probably not going to be doing much grants anymore to Harvard. But they're 31%, but they refuse to tell us who the people are. We want to know who the people. Now, a lot of the foreign students we wouldn't have a problem with. I'm not going to have a problem with foreign students, but it shouldn't be 31%. It's too much because we have Americans that want to go there and to other places, and they can't go there because you have 31% foreign. Now, no foreign government contributes money to Harvard. We do. So why are they doing so many? Number one. Number two, we want a list of those foreign students, and we'll find out whether or not they're okay. Many will be okay, I assume. And I assume with Harvard, many will be bad. And then the other thing is they're very anti-Semitic. Everybody knows they're anti-Semitic, and that's got to stop immediately.
Totally agree on that count, because whether or not they're anti-Semitic, the solution is the same. Just get rid of the Department of Education and stop sending them $9 billion of your tax dollars. Period. Point blank. End of story. They'll get along just fine without your tax money. Why do you have to subsidize the elite education of rich kids from foreign countries? Does that really make your life better? Does that make Americans' lives better? What the heck is going on? And if you ask, well, what do you think is the proper amount? 10% tops. I'd be cool with 5% foreign students. But 31%? No, boo-boo. You are not helping out America. That is an anti-American policy, which makes sense because Harvard is protecting anti-American foreigners right now. Should Harvard have all their federal funding pulled? Should they have 31% foreign students? 800-288-9227. I say absolutely pull their funding, and absolutely that's way too many foreign students. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Happy Memorial Day, fellow Texans. It's the James Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Yeah, let's go. Still got a lot to cover here in the final hour of the show. We're going to talk a little immigration. We have to play Dead or Alive, and we're going to do our Memorial Day remembrance throughout this last hour of the show. If you want to call in and just let us remember your personal sacrifice on Memorial Day, I want to know who passed away. Was it your dad? Was it your husband, your uncle, your grandfather, your son-in-law? I want to know their age. I want to know where they were, what year it was, however you want to remember them. That's all I can do here. This is the only big power I have to keep their memory alive is this show. And so this is the one day I'll be happy to do it. I've gotten a couple of good emails, but if you want to add your story, send me an email to james@wbap.com, or you can send me a Facebook message, like, Facebook Messenger. I haven't gotten any over there, but I've gotten some good emails. We'll go over these at the end of the show. Also, Luke Bryan coming to Dos Equis Pavilion June 20th. You get tickets at livenation.com, but they're going to be giving away tickets on the morning show all week long. So be sure to listen to the WBAP Morning Show for your chance to win tickets. And the next James Show listener meet and greet is tomorrow at Manny G's in Keller. Keller, if that's close enough to you, you'd be willing to drive out on a Tuesday. Go to Manny G's. Your phone knows where it's at. It's not too far from 35 and Keller Parkway. About 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. or wherever. Tell a friend, bring a friend. Come meet awesome WBAP listeners like yourself. And best part, it's free. We all like free, don't we? All right, let's take a look at how the big, beautiful bill was covered in the media over the weekend. It's just comically bad because I have some strong criticisms of the bill itself. It's not my preferred bill. I don't think, ultimately speaking, if you put me in Rand Paul's seat, that I would vote any different than Rand Paul. He has some criticisms with it too. But the criticisms from the left are just, it's crazy. First off, this is Nicole Wallace on MSNBC. This wins the award for probably the most biased question of the weekend, maybe of all of 2025. Now, remember, this is her setup for a question. I'm not even going to play you the answer. I just want to play you a question just to let you know that all the lessons that were supposed to be learned from Jake Tapper's book last week, they're not learning them at all. They're so out of control biased. They have still lost their minds and haven't found it yet.
What I find interesting is that for me, watching Trump destroy the economy was just like watching Trump destroy the FBI and just like watching Trump destroy DOJ and just like watching Trump tap Hegseth to destroy the Pentagon in 2.0 and just like watching Trump tap Tulsi Gabbard to destroy the intelligence community. It was simply another arena where he was going to be chaotic and unsettling, to borrow Christine's word, and unpredictable. What about the fact that he is now indifferent to market swings is new and notable to you?
That's the question. Like, how 28 subjective opinions were presented as fact to lead up to a question about how bad does this guy suck? Who says he destroyed all those things? Who says he destroyed the intelligence apparatus? And who says he destroyed our trade? It's ridiculous. So don't expect to get like a legit, intellectual, honest discussion of the bill in the court of public opinion as long as it's on MSNBC or CNN or ABC, NBC, CBS, the usual suspects. But one of the typical talking points here is this takes money from from poor people and gives it to rich people. Now that's something they say a lot, but it's so dishonest. Because if you make $1 million and instead of taking $300,000 from you, I take $400,000 from you, right? I'm taking more money from you. If I go back to just taking $300,000 from you, I'm not giving you any money. I'm just robbing you less. So robbing someone less, letting them actually keep more of the money that they earned is now considered giving. But it's even worse than that, because their taxes aren't going to go down. The big, beautiful bill would extend the tax cuts to where they're going to pay next year the same thing that they paid this year. So there's actually going to be no change to their tax situation. They're not giving, keeping, whatever you want to put. It's going to be the same. So the idea that they're giving money to the rich, it's not just a lie. It's almost intentionally dishonest. And the same thing with the poor people. If I steal money from your neighbor and I give it to you, that's the baseline. How about tomorrow? If I don't steal money and give it to you, am I taking any money from you? Absolutely not. I'm just not giving you someone else's money that I took by force. So the propaganda that is built into the language they use, this semantic game they play, is off the charts dishonest. MSNBC this weekend.
If you're in the top 20% of Americans, you're going to get roughly a 3.7% increase in your after-tax income.
Lie.
Really all from these tax cuts.
Lie.
But if you go all the way to the bottom and everything in between essentially leads you to the bottom, if you're in the bottom 20%, you actually lose $800. Why do you lose $800?
Lie.
You get a very small tax cut, and you get a very large cut in Medicaid and these other benefits that we were just talking about that affects the 20% disproportionately. So this is a highly regressive bill that essentially favors the wealthy, doesn't do much for the middle class, and hurts the poor.
That's so dishonest. That should be illegal. You should be able to sue them for that. If someone lied to you about what your order was in the drive-through menu this bad, you could sue them. That is just off the charts. That should be unacceptable. That should make everyone just vomit. And if you're on Team Blue, you should be embarrassed what levels that your media will stoop to lie about Donald Trump. I even oppose the bill, but your criticism of it is nuts. It doesn't take money from poor people and give it to rich people. Stop saying that. They shouldn't be able to say that. And if they do, I don't want to hear anything about, oh, Trump lies. No, please. The foundation of your entire worldview is built on a throne of lies. Coming up next, we're going to talk to an immigration attorney about how she feels about ICE arresting illegals in courthouses. You may have seen this in the news. It happened in Dallas, too. I love it. She doesn't. We'll spar a little bit next on The James Show. 800-288-9227. It's News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP. Happy Memorial Day. Welcome back to the James Show. I am your host, James Parker, News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP. Coming up in the next segment, we're going to play Dead or Alive for tickets to go see Dierks Bentley. He's going to be at Dos Equis Pavilion this Friday. The rest of us get tickets at livenation.com. But if you want to win a pair of tickets on our game show, Dead or Alive, you can go ahead and call in now and get in line if you've got like 10 minutes or so to waste. 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. I just say, if you really want the Dierks Bentley tickets for free, you might want to call in now, because when the phone lines are full, you have no chance of winning. But Dead or Alive, I give you 10 celebrities, names that you should know, and all you have to do is tell me if they're dead or alive. Whoever is on the phone at the end gets the tickets. And today's edition is the Richard edition. All of my entries on today's episode of Dead or Alive are going to be named Richard or Rick or Ricky or Dick or whatever nickname for Richard there is out there. But if you want to go ahead and call in, get on hold, 800-288-9227. I got to give away these Dierks Bentley tickets. But right now, my next guest, regular on the James Show now, Kate Lincoln Goldfinch. She's an immigration attorney. And we don't always see eye to eye on these issues, but she's pretty good at this whole debate thing. So, Kate, welcome back on.
Hey, how you doing? Happy Memorial Day.
Yeah, I can't believe we have you working on Memorial Day. Thank you very much for giving us your time on a holiday. So let's just go and jump right into it with both feet. Kate Lincoln Goldfinch, ICE has found their new favorite place to arrest immigrants, illegal immigrants, and that is in courthouses. That happened in Miami and some other states. It actually happened here in Dallas. Do you find anything wrong with that?
I do, of course. Yeah, it happened all over the country. What's the people that they're targeting are folks who entered in the last few years under the Biden administration, and they're appearing for their court hearings where many of them are seeking asylum. And what the ICE attorneys are doing is they're offering to dismiss their case in court. And many people would accept the dismissal because they don't have to go to court hearings. They can file their asylum application affirmatively. So they would agree to the dismissal, then walk out of the courtroom to ICE officers waiting to detain them. So it was a trick, actually, against many of them. And it'll be interesting to see what they do about that moving forward, because now everyone is going to be aware of what they're up to. But for the first, day or so that they used this trick, it worked on a lot of people.
So, not just you, but a lot of other critics have gone on the record. They don't like illegal immigrants being arrested in courthouses or in schools or in hospitals or in certain other public places. Is there an ideal place in your mind for illegals to get arrested?
Well, I would back up a minute and say, are these the right people to be detaining? Because these are, again, are folks who came in, they were admitted, most of them, under the Biden administration. Like they might have used the, CBP-1 app or come in under the Cuban, Haitian, Nicaraguan parole program, or, in some way, shape, or form, they were admitted, and they're actually doing everything, the proper way. They're showing up in court and they're seeking a defense in their cases within the jurisdiction of the judge. So I would argue that these are not the folks that we really want ICE to be focusing on. But the problem is that the Trump administration wants to show big numbers of interior apprehensions. What they're going after are the folks that they already know about. They know where their address is because they go to their check-ins. They go into the courthouse because they show up at court. So they're capturing all these people who are going about it the right way, where presumably, I would take issue with sort of the characterization of undocumented people as dangerous criminals, but let's say there are a few of them, and those are not these people. They're going after and wasting resources on the wrong people. So that's my issue, is who are we trying to apprehend?
Okay, but let's make let's do the fantasy land where Kate Lincoln Goldfinch is now an ICE agent. How would you go about it?
Well, if I were going after people that I thought were a real danger, I would be looking at people who had been convicted of crimes or who had charges pending and were released from criminal custody but had violent charges pending. Those are the folks that I would be going after, not the people who have no criminal history or apprehensions and are going about the proper motions to immigrate.
So you would leave all the illegal aliens here as long as they don't commit the additional crimes beyond, the illegal border crossing.
These people that we're talking about, they're all already in deportation proceedings. They're within the jurisdiction of a judge who decides whether they get to stay or go, and many of them have to go. So I'm not saying whether all these folks should be able to stay or not. I think it's a case-by-case determination. But playing a trick on them and picking them up so it looks like the Trump administration is doing these big interior enforcements when, in fact, they're going after people who are not criminals. It's not only a trick on those people, it's a trick on the American public who, hear media stories and they're thinking, oh, they're going and arresting all these people. And it's like, this is very low-hanging fruit for the administration, and it's the wrong people to go after.
Well, I think one place where we will somewhat agree here is I'm concerned about how this might have an effect on legal immigrants who may be, a little shaken about am I going to fall into one of these traps as well? What advice or sage words of wisdom do you have for legal immigrants?
I mean, I very much agree with you. We should not be going after the people who are doing it the right way, because that just teaches people not to do that. My advice for people who are in immigration court proceedings is to always have a lawyer, to always go to your court hearing. You don't want to skip your court hearing because you'll get ordered removed in absentia. And then if ICE offers you something that seems like a gift or too good to be true, don't take it. Tell the judge, I don't want you to dismiss my case. I want to be under the jurisdiction of the judge. I'm going to come to court hearings, and the judge makes the decision. And that the attorneys need to prepare emergency states of deportation, because the other thing they're doing is picking these people up and removing them immediately. So there's no way to stop it unless there's a motion filed same day.
All right, get out of here. It's a holiday. I don't want to take up too much of your time. This is the great Kate Lincoln Goldfinch. She's an immigration attorney. Find her at Lincoln Goldfinch, like the bird, law. Thank you very much, Kate.
You bet. Take care. Bye-bye.
Man, people are so nice to do this on Memorial Day. They really are. I appreciate all my guests. Coming up next, Dead or Alive, the Richard edition. What are we playing for today? Tickets to see Dierks Bentley. So if you're interested in getting free tickets to Dierks Bentley, he's going to be at the Dos Equis Pavilion this Friday. Get on the phone right now. Get in line to play Dead or Alive. 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker. You're listening to News Talk 820 93.3 FM WBAP. And this is my buddy Bob Lavelle. While you have a day off, this may be a good time to start getting your affairs in order, because it just takes a little bit of paperwork to get the ball rolling on getting in a new house. And Bob, what all do they have to have prepared for you in order for you to get them into a house?
Pretty much to get started, let's say they have filed their tax return, and let's say that they have decent credit. They actually think that they probably can't qualify, so they come in all quiet. And then we sit down and find out that all you need to do is 2 or 3 things to get those bumps and bruises fixed on the credit. That might take a couple of months or so, and you're getting out of the rat race.
Well, I like the stories of the people who already have their credit in order. They show up with their paperwork, and they sometimes get in a house in a matter of days. What's the fastest you've gotten someone in a house?
Actually, one of your listeners that we had come in a week ago, nicest lady. She listens to you every day. An older lady that, just still works. Came in, literally had perfect credit. Everything was so easy down the road. She went out Saturday and picked her dream house. And those stories, they're boring. They make my life really easy. I like sometimes when people have a challenge, but that lady was perfect in every way. And she will close in her house literally in 2 weeks.
All right, this is Bob Lavelle from Home Marketing Services. We can make this magic happen for you. Call 972-392-9595. 972-392-9595. Take advantage of your day off, this little extra time that you have. Go get some papers in order and change your life. Go to blessyourheart.com or 972-392-9595. Now, Bob Lavelle, Memorial Day. First off, thank you for your service, and I appreciate your time on a holiday.
My pleasure. Thank you, James.
Thank you, Bob. Hey there, welcome to the James Show. I'm James Parker, News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP. Would you like a free pair of tickets to go see Dierks Bentley this Friday? If you don't already have plans, you're looking for something fun to do, and you're a country music fan, I bet you would like these tickets. Go ahead and call right now, 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227, because we're about to play a James Show game show. And this is the easier one. We play the game shows usually on Monday and Friday. And name that artist is hard. I'll give you that. People complain, oh, these montages are too hard. Well, look, all we need is one person to get them. You know, out of a metropolitan area, 8 million people, certainly someone knows who sings these songs. But this one's definitely easy. You have a 50-50 chance on all of these. It's not even multiple choice. It's just true or false, dead or alive, yes or no. So 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. He's going to be at Dos Equis Pavilion this Friday. For the rest of us, we got to go to livenation.com. And I don't know, actually, I should put a caveat in there. They may change the name of the concert venue before you get there on Friday, because that's what they like to do, like every 6 days or whatever, change the name of that place. It's been everything. Coca-Cola Starplex, Smirnoff. It was, I don't know, like the Dryer Sheet Bowl or something. I forgot what it was. But Dos Equis Pavilion this Friday. Special guests, Zach Top and the band Lula. So let's go ahead. Ready? Oh, wait, you're screening a call over there? Finish that, and then we'll get Mr. Jovi to sing the theme song there. Thank you, Mr. Jovi. Welcome. You're listening to Dead or Alive. Today, very special edition. It's the Richard edition. No, not like that. Don't grow up. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to list 10 guys named Richard. You have to guess if they're dead or alive. Whoever is on the phone at the end gets the tickets. If you get it right, you stay on. If you get it wrong, I go to the next guy. And you can just stay on hold. I might circle back around to you. But let's see if we can have a happy go at this. We're going to start with Hayden in Arlington. You're on Dead or Alive. You ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
You know, I really feel like I made this one pretty easy because it's a holiday and I was just feeling generous. So good luck, sir. Number one, Richard Pryor. Richard Pryor, is he dead or alive? Yeah. Ricky Gervais, the comedian Ricky Gervais. Oh, excuse me. Former President Richard Nixon.
Dead.
TV legend. I don't know if I can say this without getting. Hey, do you have the dump button charged up? Okay. Dick Van Dyke. Is he dead or alive?
Dead.
Oh, man. No, he's 99 years old. That's a reasonable guess. But look, there's only a couple people on the line, so just don't hang up. Might get to circle back around to old Hayden in Arlington. Now we go to Cameron in Fort Worth. How do you know she spells it like that, or he spells it like that? Did he tell you there's a Y? Is there a Y in your name, Cameron? Cameron,
No.
No?
No, there's not. Caroline.
Oh, Caroline. He wrote Cameron with a Y in here. Caroline's. Okay, fine. How can you hear a Y? Anyway, go ahead. Caroline in Fort Worth.
Yes.
We are on the Richard edition here to Richard Gere. Dead or alive?
Alive.
Alive, 75 years old. Dick Clark from Bandstand. Dead or alive?
I think he's dead.
Yeah, he died a few years ago. Ricky Martin from Menudo and also Live in La Vida Loca. Dead or alive?
Alive.
Yeah, he's not even that old. Just catching you off guard. Richard Dreyfuss from Jaws. I was in Jaws. I'm Richard Dreyfuss. Is he dead or alive?
Alive.
He's alive, 77 years old. A guy who's very popular in the 90s, Richard Marx. Is he dead or alive?
Never heard of him. Alive.
Wow, what a bold guess. Yeah, you don't remember the singer Richard Marx? Richard
No.
Marx? Not, okay. Yeah, right here waiting. Wherever you go, whatever you do. You
Oh
don't.
my gosh, yes, sounds just like him.
Yeah, thank you. And finally, in the Richard edition of Dead or Alive, this is for Carolyn. Carolyn, is that right?
Caroline.
Caroline. See, this is what happens when you misspell stuff, Garrett. Dick Butkus, is he dead or alive?
I think he died, didn't he?
He did die. That's right. Well done, Caroline. In Fort Worth, you got 2 tickets to see Dierks Bentley this Friday. You got someone you're taking? You already got a date?
Got my husband. What?
Well, you're out of luck there, Garrett. Thank you very much, Caroline. I'm going to put you on hold, and Garrett is going to get your information, and then we email you the tickets because it's 2025, and that's how we do it these days. This has been today's edition of Dead or Alive. Beautiful. Well done, everybody involved. Let me do something funny because I don't want to do anything funny in the last segment. It's going to be our Memorial Day dedication segment. Just found a viral video I thought you would enjoy where a guy was making the case, and I'm not saying I agree with this guy. It's just an interesting discussion to have on how women are incapable of being happy. Not that they're not happy, that they're incapable of being happy. And he makes a pretty good case.
Women with curly hair buy a straighter. Women with straight hair buy a curler. Women with dark hair dye it blonde. Women with blonde hair dye it dark. Women with big boobs, they get a breast reduction. Women with small boobs, they get implants. I mean, you can't make that species happy. If they're light skinned, they want to get darker. There is no making them happy. They got eyebrows. They shave them off and draw new ones on. There is no making that species happy.
What about men?
No, men are good.
Yeah, I don't know if I agree with that, but he is making some solid points there. Thank you very much, Viral Video Guy. Now, if you want to honor your fallen soldier on this Memorial Day, you can call in right now, 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. I want to know his name, his age, and the year and location where he gave the ultimate sacrifice. So we can all just goof around on a Memorial Day and go to a barbecue this weekend or listen to the James Show or have a good time. Let's remember the people that made all this possible. If you want to do it in person or in voice in a live call, 800-288-9227. If I don't get any calls, I got some great emails here that'll kind of have a nice, somber, but serious, necessary tone to end this Memorial Day special edition of the James Show. 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM, WBAP. Well, hey there. Welcome to the James Show. I'm your host, James Parker. Happy Memorial Day from News Talk 820 93.3 FM WBAP. Let's get serious for a second here. We do a lot of goofing around, but not this segment. We want to remember Memorial Day because one of the tough things about when you really like put aside the silly stuff and put some real thought into this, Memorial Day, you realize that these people died for you. Now, they didn't know your name, but the point of Memorial Day is to remind you that this whole experience that you've had your entire life was paid for with blood. And it doesn't make you a bad person or doesn't make them better than you. But the point is, if you're not going to go be one of these people that goes out and risk your life for this country, then you should at least try and live your life in a way that's worth having someone die for you. Does that make sense? Like, don't go out and be a loser. Don't beat your wife. Don't be a criminal that steals from people. Don't be lazy. Don't cheat on your taxes. Be someone worth. You gotta earn this. Be worth it. Kind of like at the end of Saving Private Ryan when he's like, "Earn this." That's what you should take away from this. And so I want to honor people on Memorial Day that you've never heard of, that have never heard of you. To kind of sober you up a little bit. And let's take this seriously because some other people can't. Michael, Dallas, what would you like to for us to remember on Memorial Day, sir?
So I'd like to remember that the day for people to thank somebody for their service is Veterans Day, not Memorial Day. So I'm a West Point graduate. Everybody says, "Hey, happy Memorial Day. Thank you for this. Thank you for that." I'm still alive. Thank me on Veterans Day. And I would like to thank my uncle, who I'd never met, named Dorsey Adams, World War II bomber pilot, was in Luftstalag 17 and part of the Great Escape, and one of the ones who was recaptured and shot. And that movie's on tonight on TNT or TCM, one of those old movie channels. So watch that movie and see what those guys go through, even though it's fictionalized. But there were guys who got out, were recaptured and shot, and I want to thank him, even though I never met him.
Your uncle was in The Great Escape?
Yes.
Wow. What year was that?
I think it's like 44.
Okay.
1944. I wasn't even born, but I know of him. So.
All right, Michael. That's exactly what I'm looking for. Thank you, sir. What was his name again? One more time. Uncle what?
Dorsey Adams. Uncle Dorsey.
Man, you know what hurts about that? And thank you, Michael. Is Michael supposed to have an Uncle Dorsey? And Dorsey's supposed to have kids that would have been Michael's cousins. And a whole branch of the family tree was cut off for us. Thank you, Michael. Let's go to Jerry in Dallas. You're on the James Show on WBAP. What's your Memorial Day remembrance, sir?
My remembrance is of my uncle, Carl B. Johnson, which I'm named after. He was a gunner on a B-17 and was shot down over Holland in 1944. They recovered his remains and body in 1947, brought him back to Dallas, and I was at his funeral. That's who I'm remembering.
Thank you for sharing. I hear you tearing up. I'll let you off the hook there. I got a good email here from a guy called the Bells, and thank you, Jerry in Dallas. Thank you, your entire family, Jerry in Dallas. But some guy named the Bells. That's not his real name, I imagine. But he said, Private John C. Bell, Company D, 151st Indiana Infantry, died at age 18 near Nashville, Tennessee in the Civil War, 1865. And then he also mentioned, probably also from his family, Technician 5th Class Grover Cleveland Bishop Jr. in the Tank Destroyer Battalion, died at age 32, Schongau, Germany, April 29th, 1945, during World War II. Neither of these men had any direct descendants to remember them. Yeah, I bet most of them don't. That's the crazy part, is they didn't just give their lives up. They gave up what most of us get to go through. Finding that special person, falling in love, getting married, having kids, watching them grow up, watching them have kids. These guys gave up all of that. When you talk about the ultimate sacrifice, I mean, it's even more ultimate. Like, it's one thing if you grow up and you get married and you have kids and you find a wife and you're living a good life and maybe you die later in military. At least you have some sort of descendants to live on, to pass along your name, to remember you, to have pictures of you that they hold on to and pass to their kids and grandkids, and they can tell your story. But yeah, so many of these guys, if not most of them, nothing to remember them except for us. So remember Memorial Day, what it really means, and just earn it. Of all the sacrifices that were made on your behalf, live the kind of life that deserves it. It's going to do it for the James Show. Stick around. Mark Levin's coming up next. I'm James Parker on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP.